So today, we're going to dive into a military strategy that was literally born from weakness, but has ended up rewriting the rules of modern warfare. It's a really fascinating story about how a nation, without a modern air force, figured out a way to project serious power across the globe. Let's get into it. This is the big question, right? If you can't compete in the sky, how do you even defend yourself, let alone make your enemies think twice? You see, for Iran, this wasn't some thought experiment. It was a real existential puzzle they absolutely had to solve. You've got to understand, for decades, these crippling sanctions meant Iran was basically cut off from buying or even maintaining a modern air force. Its jets got older and older, the tech fell further and further behind, and its military power was pretty much grounded. And that created this huge vulnerability. I mean, in any modern fight, whoever owns the sky pretty much owns the battlefield. Without that, Iran was totally exposed. So they had to get creative. They had to figure out a different way to fight, a way to turn this massive weakness into a totally new kind of strength. Okay, so what was their first answer? Well, it was missiles. This whole idea was really forged in fire during the brutal Iran-Iraq War back in the 80s, when Iraqi missiles were just raining down on Iranian cities. Their leadership vowed then and there, never again would they be so defenseless. And let's be clear, this didn't just happen overnight. No, this was a slow, methodical, 40-year journey. It all started with getting their hands on basic Scud technology in the 80s, then they moved on to reverse engineering their own versions in the 90s, and it all led up to the incredibly sophisticated, long-range systems they have today. And what's the result of that whole journey? Well, it's the largest and most diverse missile arsenal in the entire Middle East. We're talking about systems like the Khorramshahr, which can hit targets over 2,000 kilometers away. And then you have something like the Sigil. This thing is a solid-fuel missile that reportedly screams to the air at hypersonic speeds. We're talking nearly 14 times the speed of sound. Just incredible. Okay, but if you have this crucial deterrent, how do you protect it? Simple. You bury it. Deep. Iran built these absolutely massive underground missile cities. Some dug half a kilometer straight down into mountains. The whole point is to make them almost impossible to take out in a first strike. But, missiles were only half the story. The second part of the answer, and honestly maybe the one that's shaking things up even more, came in the form of drones. This is where Iran didn't just find a way to project power, they started changing the actual rules of the game. And the absolute centerpiece of this new strategy is the Shahed 136. Now, this thing isn't some high-tech marvel of speed. Actually, it's pretty much the opposite. It's a one-way attack, or kamikaze drone, that flies low and slow. Its real power is in the numbers. They're designed to be launched in these huge swarms to just completely overwhelm an enemy's defenses. And this is where the strategy gets really, really clever. It all comes down to the economics. A single one of these Shahed drones costs, about $35,000 to make. Now, just lock that number in your head for a second. Because the main weapon you'd use to shoot down a threat like this is something like a Patriot missile. And a single one of those interceptors, that'll set you back about $4 million. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. I mean, this is the absolute heart of asymmetric warfare. You're forcing your opponent to use a weapon that's more than 100 times more expensive to stop your cheap one. It's a losing game, financially. You can win every single dogfight in the sky and still go broke. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of million-dollar missiles way before they run out of cheap drones. But here's the thing. The real genius here isn't just the missiles or just the drones. It's how they work together. This is the one-two punch that creates an absolute nightmare for any air defense system. So just imagine you're the one defending against this. You've got these swarms of slow drones just buzzing along at about 100 miles an hour, but at the exact same moment, you've got ballistic missiles screaming down from the edge of space at over 17,000 kilometers an hour. I mean, how on earth is any single defense system supposed to handle two totally different kinds of threats at the same time? The tactic itself is brutally, brutally simple. First, you flood the sky with the drone swarm. They're basically decoys. This forces the defender to light up all their radar, start firing off those super expensive interceptors. And then, once their defenses are distracted, overwhelmed, and maybe running low on ammo, that's when you launch your fast, powerful missiles at the really important targets. You want to know the ultimate proof that this strategy works? After the US military got their hands on some of these things and studied them,
They literally paid an American company to copy the design. As they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, especially in war.
So this all brings us to our final and maybe most important point. This strategy, which Iran cooked up out of sheer necessity, well, it's not just Iran's strategy anymore. It's gone global, and it's changing how wars are fought everywhere. You've got Russia now mass-producing its own versions of these drones. Iran's been supplying this tech to its proxy groups all over, from Yemen to Lebanon, giving them a kind of firepower they could never have dreamed of on their own. Basically, this whole playbook, it's gone open source. And the end result of all this? Even without a modern air force, Iran has managed to build what U.S. intelligence now calls the largest and most formidable missile and drone arsenal in the whole Middle East. They looked at their problem, and yeah, they solved it. So, what's the big takeaway here? Faced with a crippling weakness, Iran didn't just try to play catch-up. Instead, they just wrote a completely new rulebook. And now that this playbook is out there for everyone to see, the really scary question is, who's going to use it next?